Alright guys, what's up? Troy, ATXRC Productions here. Coming to you talking about solo again, obviously. However, we are going to talk about maintenance and how you need to, every flight, every day, take a look at everything. And a little bit more of an in-depth look at a couple of spots to maintain. So, we're starting here with solo. Props off, all that. I just want to say, guys, it's up to the pilots, you guys here, to take a look at your quad every day before you fly it, before it goes in the air. When it does get in the air and it comes back, look at it. If you look at it before and you look at it after, you're going to notice from time to time something change. If you feel something in the air is not sounding right, not feeling right, bring it back. Land it yourself. Don't auto land. Too many guys out there I see, oh, I was trying to auto land and it wouldn't, so I backed off and then I tried it again and I wouldn't, and then I backed off and I tried it again and it flipped over. Land the quad, guys. Yes, auto land is great. However, did you know that you can also keep auto land on while you alter its flight path? I've explained it to people. Other people have explained it to people. Guys, auto landing is great. Doesn't always work, and you should always be a hand on the controller ready to assist it, okay? If you do have a mishap, you drop it out of its case on the floor in the living room, your son hits it with a wiffle ball bat, look at it. Impact. Vibrations. These things spin high. 4 motors at very high RPMs, creating a ton of wind turbulence. Check it out. Make sure it's ready to go in the air. Not asking for a COA from the freaking FAA, okay? We're going to look at it. We're going to make sure GPS cover is there. It's not damaged, which would imply that possibly there's other damage underneath. The battery tray is all sitting the right way. I'm going to visually look at the motor windings. Are they clean? Is there anything in there debris-wise? I'm going to spin them and feel the feedback of the magnets and the coils or the windings. If I feel any resistance, I'm going to look at the bearings. That's what we're going to actually do some maintenance on in a little bit. But we're not to that point. This is just basic flight prep. I'm just looking. I'm looking at the screws. Do any of the screws look loose? Well, it'd be great to have a screwdriver on hand and just double check. These leg screws, they don't need to be muscle man tight. Gimbal bay screws, they should be firmly tightened. They're Phillips screwdriver heads. Sucks. I'm sorry. Yes, Philip. Yes. I blame you. LD. None of mine are loose. If one is loose, I would then start looking at why. I'll be honest, this should be done when you first open up the box before you put it in the air. That goes for any RC. Air RC, ground RC, anything. Any RTF. Some dude at the manufacturer, yes, they're supposed to give a darn, I know. They don't care about your $1,000 quadcopter. They just want to get their paycheck, okay? So check the screws. From the factory, you're going to find possibly 1 or 2 loose ones. But after flying, if you find a loose one, it's an indicator that there's some vibration going on in that general area. First of all, what vibration? Was it just that it wasn't all the way screwed to begin with? Cool. Should you use thread lock possibly? Which gets us to thread lock. Blue thread lock. Not red, not purple, blue. Blue is non-permanent. It will come off with a little bit of muscle. Being these are Phillip heads, I would use blue also because it's easy to strip these. I'm going to be doing a video maybe today or in the next couple of days where I'm going to change all 27 screws that I want to change, which are the motor pods, the gimbal bay, and the legs. I'm going to change with hex screws. So I'm going to get you that info soon. I recommend it. Visually inspected everything. The dampening balls, they're all in place and they're the right way. The gimbal is dampened. I can feel it. Everything's good. Cool. It's a good visual inspection, yeah? Don't forget the prop. Guys, on minis, people snap props off or props disintegrate midair. And I always think to myself, are they morons? Are they not looking at the bottom of their prop? Because I ask them sometimes, and they always say the same thing. Oh, I didn't see it. Or, yeah, I saw it, but I didn't. I flew it anyways. If you ever see a white crease or a white line or a discoloration, that's plastic that's been bent. It then will pretty much snap. This type of nylon-ish kind of plastic won't do that necessarily, but other types of props will. So just examine your props. Discolorations, look at them, assess them, see if it's dangerous, get rid of it. Props are cheap compared to this thing, get rid of it. What I'm looking for is any deformities. The plastic could be warped from being in a case. People want to put Solo with props on it in a case. Well, what happens if the case somehow mashes the tip down on the prop and it sits in your warm car for a full day? You pull it out and go fly, guess what? Prop's got a curve to it. It's going to cause mad crazy disruption in the way that it creates the airflow. I don't understand why people want props on anyways, man. These things go on in what? Done. 2, 3, 4. That being said, the way I just did this, yes, it's on, but it's not secure until I give it a twist by holding the motor to get it a good firm lock. A little backwind, in theory, could make a prop spin off backwards if it's in the air spinning one way and the wind going the other way is, in theory, stronger. Well, in theory, a self-tightening prop could pop off. So, be careful. All right. We visually inspected it. Everything's good, man, right? We're good. I'm going to take my radio and I'm going to inspect the antenna, which I'm also going to do here. I'm sorry, we should do. It's external. All right, my antenna, it's in the leg. It's straight. It's legit. I don't see any problems with it. Cool. Compass, same thing. Oh, wait, that was one of the antennas. I'm sorry. Here's the other antenna. The other antenna. Yep, it's in there. Cool. Legit. Straight. All right. Now we're going to find the compass. All right, there's the compass. It's in there. There's no issues. It's not torn. It's proper. Good. Cool. So that's the external inspection of Solo. The antenna's on my radio. I'm going to double check. I'm going to twist, okay? Battery's plugged in, all that stuff. I'm going to check my battery connectors. Just real quick, another good thing. My battery, is it going to lock in place correctly? Any issue with that, I'm going to inspect it at the connectors and see, what's exactly going on. Does it stay locked? When I try to move the battery without moving the lock, does it stay connected? Yes, good. It's important. All right, so that's it, man. So that's the external visual inspection that we should do with our quads all the time. It's up to you guys, your pilots. Choose your space wisely. Don't always follow what some of us do. I've shown some videos that I wouldn't personally even redo myself, let alone ask anybody else. So that's what you should be looking for with your Solo all the time. Now, maintenance. It's not very much here, guys. The biggest thing we're looking for is, again, checking all screws. The next thing that we're looking for is oiling the bearings. Now, not sure if I talked about it yet, but the set screws on these bell housings is the only screw issue that has been mentioned or noted. It is very, very important to keep thread lock in your kit. The reason is mainly these screws. These bell housings attach to a shaft. It's the way that they spin. The shaft spins, which spins the bell housing. The bell housing is locked in place with a set screw. It's a little 1.5 hex head. And it's got I believe a 2 millimeter screw itself. Maybe a 2x2 or 2x3 millimeter set screw. When you check these, if you spin them and they turn, they need to be tightened at all, back them out, clean the screw, scrape any excess thread lock or anything you see, clean it very good, dry it, put new thread lock, very small amount blue on it, and put it back in. Tighten it all the way down. Let it sit for 4 to 6 hours minimum. I recommend overnight. Thread lock takes time to dry. Once it's dry, it's set. If you take it out while it's wet though, and it vibrates, which a motor spinning will do, it causes the bond not to create the correct type of bond, and it's just not going to set right. So you just shoot yourself in the foot. So all these set screws, check them. They're supposedly V2. I know people are going to say, there's a second Solo. No. But they've made a change at the factory as far as the way that they're setting these in there supposedly. So just make the change or yourself, pull some thread lock out, lock them all down. That's maintenance number 1. These screws should be checked every 5 to 10 flights for sure. You thread lock them, you could probably get away with it for a month. You can use any kind of oil. In fact, I use a 3-in-1 basic oil from just wherever. It's a lubricant, cleans, and prevents rust. That's all I'm trying to do. This has a decent little tip on it that lets you get into some tight spaces. However, this is what I recommend is a dispenser bottle that has a stainless steel or aluminum or whatever it is straw attached to it. It's very small and precise. What you're going to do is you're going to use this tip and you're going to drop just 1 or 2 drops of oil on the bearing, this top bearing. And I'm going to do it to all of them. And I'm very careful to get the oil on the bearing and not on the coils or the windings. Once the oil's on there, we're going to spin the motor both directions. We're trying to work that oil into the sealed bearing. Yes, it's sealed, but the oil still gets in there, okay? And then I got a little applicator. It's a little foam applicator I'm going to use to clean off the excess. You want the excess off so it doesn't drip all over the windings. If I don't have an applicator like that, don't use a Q-tip. It's got fuzz. Get a piece of paper towel and just tear it. Ball the tip up and use it to kind of wick away the oil. If you let it sit, it'll actually soak the oil up and it'll kind of go up like a straw. So that's how you can do it if you don't have the applicator. It'll work fine. So excess oil gone, all that. Cool. Top motor's done. Bearings are done. The set screws we already did last night. I've inspected all of my windings. I don't see any discoloration, any dirt, any grime, no nothing. Good. If I did have dirty motors, you can take these motors off the ESCs and you could clean them with some electrical cleaner. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you had to, that's how I would do it. All right, here we go, guys. We're going to go in depth for a second here. The great thing about this is, as in depth as this is, it's so flippin' easy because 3DR made it so. So I don't know if anybody else has done this, but if you look at the bottom of your LED cover, there's a small little space that you can insert the tip of a screwdriver. Push in the tip of it, and the LED covers come off. Before you start asking yourself, why does he have pink writing on his motors? Well, I labeled the bottom side of the frame once you get the LED covers off because I'm not familiar, I'm not used to the motor numbering system that Solo has. And I'm used to the NASA stuff where it's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. So for my own ability and just quick looks of this is not the pod itself, this is the chassis. I wanted to be able to visually tell which motors are which. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Once you pop those off, you show the 4 screws that hold each motor pod in. And I will show you how to quickly lubricate the motor. Now, the great thing would have been for 3DR to have left a little bit more of an opening here that shows or exposed the bottom of the motor so I could just get a tip of a oil can in there and just get it done. Oh, that was careful. But it didn't do that. So it's all right. They still made this super easy. And another thing I will say, these screws, again, they're M3s. So they're going to be all right to switch out with a different head. They do have thread lock already on them. So thanks to 3DR for that. That's good stuff. All right. So once you drop those 4 screws, the motor pod slides right down. And then you could get it out to right there. And for me, that's perfect. we're getting the oil in the little hole where you can see the exposed bearing. I'll then rotate it again around both directions. I'll then use my applicator again to get any excess out. And then as quickly as it came out, I can slide this bad boy all back in, just like that, and tighten down the screws. Now, when you tighten these screws down, guys, it's just like doing your, changing a car tire or anything else that's sensitive to torque or needing to be 100% torqued down in a pattern. So we're going to basically hand tighten all the screws first, and then we're going to go back and we're going to go front to bottom to top right to top left in tightening, and then we're going to do a circle all the way around. So everything's thumb tight, and now I'm going to go to the bottom one and I'm going to get it tightened how I like it. Now the top one, which is opposite, and now I'll go to one of the corners and then the opposite corner, and then we'll check the bottom one and the top one. Everything's good. So we're good to go. I'm going to pop the light cover back on to show that I've done this one. And now I can move on to the next one. I'm going to move on to the next one, and I'm going to pop the light cover on it because I've already done all of them. After that one, we are going to do this one. And then before we do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and pop this motor pod out for you guys, and I'm going to show you a couple of little things just to look for as well. Now, guys, 3DR will still honor your warranty if you if you remove a motor pod for maintenance, or if you remove a motor pod to change one out. You're still covered under warranty, as long as your crash or whatever occurs isn't due to you incorrectly putting something back in, which would mean not screwing it in properly, leaving screws out, or not checking that they are still connected properly with the wires before you slide them back in. Again, I did this all last night, so I already have an idea. Alright. So let's just take a look at a motor pod top side as it comes out. There we go. Plenty of excess wire to get it out. As you can see, one thing to take a look at is these bullet connectors. They're staggered, which is great because there's a small gap in the shrink tubing. It's one thing you need to take a look at. Me, I'm going to come back and I'm going to go ahead and cover those with a little more shrink tubing just to make sure no kind of arcing can occur. However, pretty good deal. I'm looking at the SC. I'm going to check all my solder points. They're all legit. Everything's good. You see this connector at the bottom? This is obviously power here, and then this is obviously your ESC signals. Slightly different than what your standard ESC looks like. Besides that, though, it's a motor pod, man, with an ESC built in. All my solder points look good. So we're going to go ahead and drop her back in. I just wanted to show you guys how easy that is. There it is. Flip her over. All the screws are the same size, so there's no mixing and matching of screws accidentally. And there we go. So just that quick and that easy, you can get motor pods out, oil them, put them back in, and maintain your solo in good working order, okay? There we go. Now, everything's oiled, right? We spun these motors by hand All right, we spun these motors by hand to work that oil into the bearing. However, for me, it's not enough. Last thing I'm going to do, and this is going to be, I'm going to let you guys go when I do this. Appreciate you guys watching. I really hope this helps. I hope people aren't worried about how my presentation of this was. I'm just trying to show you guys what you should and could do. I'm now going to leave you guys, and on the out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to power up Solo and the radio. I am going to hold the fly button to spool the motors up and just let them sit here and just spin for maybe a minute, maybe two. I'll kill it at that point. We're done. Just to get that oil a little better seated in the bearings. Again, guys, I really hope y'all enjoyed ATXRC Productions. Check it out. Watch us on Facebook. Lots of good stuff coming, man. We're actually going to be hopefully getting a 3D printer pretty soon too. So, all right. And there we go. Sounds good to me. ATXRC Productions out. Fly safe, fly smart, fly 3D on.